What's up, guys? My name's Brent Smith.
Kayla Smith.
And we are Cauliflower Ear Family. So I said we were going to do another one today, and here we are. So something I really wanted to talk about was fundamentals that I wish I knew sooner. These are ones that I really harp on while I'm teaching. Like she's heard me say them numerous times, but I think they're really important ones to know. So my first tip on fundamentals that I wish I had learned earlier on is dominating the inside space. So just on the surface, that doesn't really make as much sense, but say I'm looking to pass the guard. So basically the person that has control of the inside space, essentially they're going to kind of win that mini battle. They might not win the match, but it's something that really helps, like if you're trying to pass the guard or if you're trying to retain guard. Dominating that inside space is huge on really on winning those little mini battles. So that's my first tip, is dominating the inside space. So if you picture that you have a beach ball kind of on your belly right here, and if they can get in and control the grips and get in on the inside space and crush that beach ball, you're a couple steps behind. So that'd be my first tip, is protect that beach ball, dominate that inside space.
Yeah, make sure you can control those grips. So if you're trying to pass, you want inside space. If you're trying to keep somebody from passing, you want the inside space.
And that can be playing like your spider guard, or even if you're doing no-gi, just your frames, and making sure, like half guard, you're checking that shoulder and making sure they don't just crush in on that inside space. That's a huge one that I actually didn't really, I wasn't really taught until like I really strapped on the gi. So I finally found an instructor that really like pushed these into my head, just like, hey, this is super important. So that's one I push all the time, as far as like with my students and with Kayla. And I think that one is super, super important. So dominate the inside space. I'd also say like grip fighting and proper grip placement. That's another tip that I really wish that somebody had really like broken down for me better. With that, it's kind of knowing, and like not necessarily like somebody teaching you it, but like really getting a feel for it. So using your frames and like no-gi, a lot of it's going to be your underhooks and your overhooks. With the overhook though, like you have to make sure you're still protecting that beach ball. Like it's a little bit more difficult to do, but like when you have that overhook, you're making sure you're checking the shoulder or have a collar tie or something like that. So really those kind of go hand in hand, proper grip placement and stuff like that too. So if you're battling grips, especially in the gi, like they get a collar grip on you, you're popping that grip off, and a lot of in jiu-jitsu is fighting for those grips.
We actually, when our kids come into our kids class in the very beginning, we teach them basic grip fighting. So it's more of a self-defense aspect. If somebody's grabbing, you go out the mouth, so it translates not only from self-defense for them and their minds, but also into grip fighting as they get into the sport aspect of jiu-jitsu. It really is one of those fundamentals that you should know in the very beginning, is, you don't try to pass the guard if they have those grips. You need to break those grips first and then pass the guard.
Especially if that like collar grip and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to bully through, you might get choked.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly what happens.
It happens quite a bit. So knowing when to grip fight and when or trying to stay ahead of that grip battle, which happens a lot. Like if you watch any like judo, like high level judo tournaments or like Olympic level or anything like that, you're going to see a lot of grip fighting. So they're not just going to like grab and go. Like they're getting their grip, and then their opponent will counter the grip, and then you're having a fight for that. So I really think that the grip battle is huge in it as well. And that's gi or no gi. It's just gi and no gi are a little different.
Next on the docket is angles make strangles. We actually have a shirt that says that. But like with triangles, especially, cutting that angle is what's really going to do it. If you can complete a submission without exerting a whole bunch of effort, then you may as well use like the best technique possible to do that. So if you're creating that angle, you're not having to squeeze as hard. You're not having to pull down on that head. We don't actually even pull down on the head for the triangle generally.
Really, a tap is a tap. If you can get somebody to give up, you win. But if you can use less energy while doing it, I think that's a lot better, especially if you have like a tournament where you have quite a few matches, round robin, or even like where you have 3 or 4 matches like ahead of you. Like, you want to conserve your energy. So you can get the tap, like for the example of a triangle choke, like getting it locked in, just pulling down on the head and squeezing. But for me, like, I love the triangle choke, and that was one of my like first like good submissions that I really went for. We got kiddos knocking on our door. But for me, like, creating that angle, scooping under the leg or scooping under the arm to where you can angle out to where it takes very little like squeeze to really get that strangle. And I think that's really important. And on the flip side, if somebody has you in something like a triangle choke, if you create the angle the opposite way that they're wanting to go, you can relieve a lot of that, the strangle there as well. So really, angles do make strangles. And if you're wanting to defeat somebody's choke, take the angle to the opposite side. So that's something that I think is really important as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what I missed. Sorry, the kids are out there.
So another tip that I actually just learned pretty recently from Nick Rigoriadis, he did a seminar in Oregon, and spine, I guess it'd be misalignment. I don't know, fancy science words, but taking their spine from being like at a good angle to where, like, even if they're playing guard, but they have like good posture and like straight spine, you can move a lot better. But if you just take it off just a little bit to where they're just like, you feel it sucks, like just pulling them off that alignment, and then just those small details, and that can really like crush somebody's like escapes and like their guard or anything like that. Shoulder of justice is a nice one too, which she's got a good shoulder of justice where you're just pressuring that shoulder and turning their neck to where it makes it really difficult to like get out of there.
Yeah, he pulls the spine out of alignment, gives the shoulder of justice, blocks the hip, and it basically gets rid of your bridging opportunities, your shrimping opportunities. Makes it really hard for the person on bottom to move. I know from a lot of experience.
And that is actually a tip that I kind of just learned. And next month it'll be 13 years of training. So, I mean, that goes to prove that you're always learning as well. But play with that a little bit, like find tips and tricks onto pulling that spine off alignment.